Hey, it's Lon Welsh at Your Castle Real Estate, and you may have seen an article in the Denver Post a couple days ago about the ongoing housing shortage for workers in the mountain communities. This has been an issue for the entire 24 years that I've lived in the state. I bought my first condo in Vail in 1998, and there was headlines even then about how worker housing was not very available and it was too expensive. So this is something that's been an ongoing problem with the communities. It's gotten actually a little bit worse recently as more and more high-level employees have had the ability to work from home or work wherever they want. Many of them said, well, why am I living in New York when I could be living in Colorado in the mountains? So there's been a huge amount of excess demand for housing, which has really driven up the housing prices in the mountains, even more than they were already, which I would have thought would have been possible. Anyway, the Denver Post article makes a point that for the mountain resorts, or just the mountain communities in general, that between 34 and 70% of the homes are vacant at any given moment, depending on the county. And I think that's generally true. There's an awful lot of people who have a second home that don't rent it out. But even if you do rent it out, I think this is very misleading. We make our rental up in Vail available, and we're only occupied probably 35–40% of the year. And the other 60% of the time the unit is vacant, but it's not because we don't want to rent it out. It's just because there's a lot of parts of the year where there's just not enough demand. There's an insane amount of demand during the ski season, and there's about 8 weeks of demand during the summer where you're pretty reliably full. And then all the rest of the year, if you can get the weekends, that's great, but the week, there's nobody going to be there. So the article's, I think, a little bit misleading, but I think the basic foundation of what they're trying to get at with the housing prices getting too high is probably true. So if you're thinking about getting something in the resort, should you do it? Is this a good time? Personally, I think if it's a lifestyle decision, you're going to be there for a long time, you should just go ahead and do it. Your family's going to love you for doing it. If it's more short-term, speculative, or investment in nature, I think I would hold off. I think we're going to see that some of the people from out of state that moved here will burn out on the idea of living in the mountain communities and want to sell their properties and move back. Our managing broker in Summit County, Amy Nakos, I told her, like everybody else in Denver, I had this fantasy of living an entire ski season up in the mountains, and she says, everybody in Denver says that. Until you live up here for a whole season, you have to use your snowblower 75 times in one season, and then you don't want to be here anymore. So I'm still expecting to see some of those people move away, and the prices won't go down, but they'll stop going up.